Hello all, and welcome to Real-Time Loyalty, Real Business Impact. I'm Samir Prakash, Chief Technology Officer at Cura. We help companies globally adopt and implement AI-driven real-time decisioning solutions. And I'll be your host today to discuss this exciting topic. I'm joined today by three experts who are transforming how organizations build customer relationships. Annette Curlin from Pegasystems, Senior Director, Global One-to-One Customer Engagement. Annette has a wealth of experience helping companies adopt AI to drive their MarTech solutions. Also with us is Simon Taylor from Telium. He is an AI strategist. He's pioneering privacy-first customer data orchestration for leading enterprises globally. And we have Andy Lewis from Pegasystems. Andy also helps EMEA's largest enterprises maximize customer lifetime value through real-time contextual AI-driven next best actions. Together, today we hope to show you how our three companies have cracked the code on moving from traditional loyalty programs to AI-powered behavioral transformations. Before we get started, just a couple of housekeeping points. The webinar should last about 45 minutes and it will be recorded. And as always, we'd love to hear your questions. If you have not already submitted your questions prior to the session, please use the Q&A features to submit your questions to the host, to the speakers. If for any questions, any of the questions that we cannot answer today, we will follow up with you after the webinar for sure. So before we dive in, I want you to think about something right now. Take out your phone, your wallet, if you're so inclined. How many loyalty programs are in there? Now, research shows us that on average, there are around 15 memberships across retailers, coffee shops, airlines, banks, etc. And the uncomfortable question is, if I offered you a 10% discount to switch to a competitor now, would you even hesitate? And is there anything about the program that makes you be really loyal to them? Now, this is what we call the loyalty betrayal. And here is a scary stat to bring that to life. On average, customers belong to about 16.7 loyalty programs, but they will only actively engage with about half of them, 7.4. And a whopping 3/4, 75% would abandon their loyalty programs tomorrow if they get better prices. So I'll turn to my panelists. Annette, Simon, you are both actively talking to clients globally, daily. What are you hearing, observing in your client conversations?
Thanks, Samir, and welcome, everybody. So if you think about it, as consumers, we're absolutely surrounded by marketing noise, messages, and offers across all of the devices and channels that we use today. And this is what researchers are calling an attention crisis for marketeers. So it's not just about shorter attention spans, it's about consumers becoming increasingly selective about what deserves their mental energy. So it's a really competitive market, and creating sustainable loyalty is a critical business priority. But actually, as Samir said, there's a proliferation of loyalty schemes out there, and we see organisations spend millions of pounds on loyalty programmes that sometimes are just commoditising their customer relationship. So if you think about your own experience, when every interaction requires either scanning another one of those cards or sharing your email so you can get more information sent to your inbox, and that's just to avoid paying more or to get an offer that's just the same as everybody else, it doesn't create sustainable loyalty, and it's also not differentiating. But I think the key pain point here is that actually often these situations happen because the systems that the organisations are using can't understand the individual customer needs in real time. So they can't detect the context of what you actually need at that critical moment of truth. So then what happens is you end up with the one-size-fits-all reward schemes and sometimes very reactive margin-heavy discounting. So our approach and our clients have realised that they need to move away from the batch rule-based approach to more of a modern AI native approach. And what this means is using real-time decisioning that can understand customer behaviour, deduces the context of the need, which is really important right now in this moment, and then it can respond with genuinely relevant value, not just the transactional offers that Samir was talking about.
Yeah, thank you, Annette. Simon, do you want to go next?
Thank you, Samir, and welcome everyone. So the data foundation is the critical piece here. So typically we're seeing organizations sitting on gold mines of behavioral and typically historic customer data. It's often scattered across, we see 15 plus touch points on average, and there's typically no kind of unified view, no 360-degree view. So Well, if we look back at the kind of the privacy paradox actually offers an opportunity, because when customers trust how their data is used, they tend to share more signals as to what they're doing, which then in turn enables better AI decisions. And then in turn, the consumer gets a more personalized experience and feels more connected to the brand. So it turns out that putting privacy first isn't just good for consumers, it's good for business. We're seeing really strong ROI when consent management is part of the data foundation, and not just treated as a compliance obligation.
Exactly. And let's not underestimate that value of consent, as you said, Simon. So one more point to note here is we are not just solving a technology problem. Yeah, it's equally got to do with, as you said, Annette, how do we engage and respond to customers in their moments of need? And I know words have been said, and you may have heard these before, but hopefully today we've got some use cases, some things, some examples to show you how we have been doing it, how this is happening for real. So let's talk a bit about the kind of problems each of our companies solves. So Simon, you're talking about data there. Could you start us off with Data Foundation? What does Telium do to help solve this problem?
Sure. So as I say, the average enterprise customer has data scattered across, I mean, we mentioned 15 plus touch points with research. It's often significantly more than that. Those could be back-end systems, but typically if we look at most organizations will have a mobile app, a website, in some cases point of sale data, often call centers, and then they'll have email platforms that are typically the kind of backbone that they're communicating with the consumers with. But the critical issue is the data's in silos, which then creates a disconnected experience that customers are going to notice immediately. So if you picture maybe a banking customer, for example, logs in via a mobile app, maybe looking at mortgages, and then they call the call center about rates for those mortgages and possibly even visit the branch. So without real-time data orchestration, each touch point treats them as a different consumer, no real context of what they may or may not have seen before, which offers maybe they've seen in previously. So without that proper data foundation, or sorry, with the proper data foundation, we can understand that this is actually the same person that's on a journey that requires a coordinated response, in this case, AI driven at each point. So the privacy paradox, as I say, is actually our opportunity, as I mentioned earlier. So when consumers trust the data, trust how their data is being used, they'll share it more freely, and those behavioral signals become part of the experience they're going to generate, and everyone wins. So we build unified profiles in real time, not tomorrow morning in batch processes, but also in a privacy first governance and compliance way. So that's the competitive advantage.
Okay, and that real-time data must directly impact the AI accuracy, right, Annette?
Yeah, no, absolutely right. So it's no surprise to know that poor data equals poor decisions out. But even when you've got good data, if you're still using that traditional rule-based approach and you can only release messages once a week with batch-based decisions, then the value can be very marginal or non-existent, or even in some cases, you turn the customer off and they opt out, and then you've lost your opportunity to engage with them. So you're really missing that moment of truth to connect. So the way that Customer Decision Hub works, our AI decisioning engine, is that it consumes and processes the real-time behavioral triggers and events streamed directly from Telium. So just to bring this to life, for example, maybe, this customer's browsed a terms and conditions page, or they've just had a service issue resolved, or they've just hit a life milestone. So the AI can make thousands of micro decisions in milliseconds to deduce the next best action and then to deliver it right in the right moment through the optimal channel. So it is a bit of a fine art. We're talking about predictive modeling at scale here. So for every single interaction, dynamic arbitration, being able to balance the customer needs and preferences with the business objectives. And that's across the whole of the business, across your product lines and channels. And I think the good news is this isn't future technology. It's very much tried and tested and driven staggering benefits. So I thought it'd be remiss not to share a few numbers with everybody. Always good for the business cases when you take this back into the office. So Forrester create a total economic impact study. And this found that CDH generates an average of $43 per customer per year in incremental value. So just to save you all doing the maths, or you can read the slides, that's a typical ROI of over 440%. incremental sales in excess of 270 million per year for every 10 million customers, sizable churn reduction benefit. And the best news is that it's achievable in less than 6 months. So super speedy time to value.
Yes, and I think this is where the implementation experience we have jointly with the two technologies becomes quite critical. We've been working, as I mentioned, as at Kira, we've been working with AI-driven decisioning marketing for the last 20 years. And AI has become more mainstream in this time. We've seen more and more banks, comms companies adopt and use this to drive their marketing customer engagement strategies. And what we have observed is whilst the technology has grown and ultimately works, obviously with the right expertise, guidance, etc., organizations are continuing to underestimate the change management required for the shift. And by that, I mean they're still thinking campaigns rather than relationship orchestration. So, for example, this is one of the use cases we'll talk about a bit more in detail in a bit. When we worked with a leading UK supplier on AI decision deployment, the success came when they switched to understanding what genuinely motivates each individuals and then connecting the reward with their core value and interest. So we basically shifted them to a world of personalized behavioral rewards. So you have free energy for loyal customers, but also free cinema vouchers for entertainment lovers, Waitrose discounts from premium shoppers, etc. Now, in all of these interactions, AI is operating at scale. So it's giving us all the insights we need, but we need to make these feel authentically human. So it's more empathetic, relevant, rather than just the number crunching where the machine decides, I'm afraid I can't do that or I can do this, becomes the default experience. So we found success when we engage customers empathetically, one-on-one, at the point of the need. And we're using these proven implementation methodology approaches that will help your organization transform from being rules-based to a AI native thinking org. So the headline is we are refocusing on business outcomes, not just technology capabilities. So that kind of brings us to the next section where we want to talk a bit more about the three pillars and how they work in practice together. So let's walk through a real customer journey to show you how this integration happens between Telium and Pega and how we as at Kira are putting this together to give you a competitive advantage. I'll use an implementation we did with a leading mobile operator here in UK, where we proved this integration in practice. So imagine the scene. A mobile customer visits an operator website. They've been reviewing competitive pricing on one of the main comparison sites, looking for SIM-only deals. So Simon, let's start with you. Can you talk us through what happens in the first few milliseconds?
Mm-hmm. Sure. So the moment this person lands on the pricing page, the real-time data streams are captured, and those begin to build the kind of the behavioral signals that will feed through to Pega. So in the first instance here, we recognize the consumer, who they are, even if perhaps if they've not actually logged in, but they have done previously, we're able to match their identity. And we've seen and tracked the fact that they're reviewing their bill and they've reviewed plans previously. So we've also logged at this point the fact that the previous website they've looked at actually is a price comparison site. So there's a risk there, which is taken into account. And this time, as they land, perhaps they've come in from an ad that's been posted on Meta, perhaps as well. So all that real-time context is fed through. And at this point, they're specifically viewing SIM-only options. So that's clearly a potential churn signal, as they're a monthly contracted consumer. And once we see how Pega will build that two together, and they're coming through to the close of their contract. So the real-time event data stream and context feeds directly into the Pega CDH, not tomorrow in a batch process, but in milliseconds as it happens before the next page even loads. So we're creating that unified behavioral profile that enables the AI to understand the intent, not just take an action at the end of the session. We're doing this live.
Yes, and that understanding the intent is key, obviously, to what comes next. So Annette, how does Pega CDH process these signals? So I'm guessing you would start with that churn risk signal, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So in milliseconds, CDH would process the Telium data stream. It's going to recognize this as a high priority churn prevention moment. Then the AI can accumulate the interest counts based on the pages visited. It will fully assess the customer's interaction and their interaction history, their preferences, And then it can use all of this intelligence to derive intent of the customer and therefore the potential relevance of applicable actions. So then once you start to get into this realm of applicable actions, well, then how do you think about the right thing to present to the customer and how do you get to the value? So that's obviously of critical importance. So the AI can arbitrate between different types of retention offers. It can assess customer lifetime value. It can consume the business drivers or maybe the weightings that you've put in there. And then it can then determine what's genuinely helpful to the customer in that precise moment. So instead of a generic discount pop-up, for example, it could trigger a contextual message, which can be something like, Annette, we can see that your usage peaks in the afternoon on a daily basis and that you're approaching your contract renewal period. So as a valued customer, we'd like to offer you a new contract with priority network access during peak hours, because we can see that that's when you need to use your phone the most. We see you stream lots of music, so we're going to offer you free access to our premium events lounge in London for the next 6 months. To which my response would be, yes, please. Sounds great. So, you can see that having that richness of relevant, the right message in exactly the right moment, because this is exactly when I'm interacting, and tailored just for my needs, is going to lead to a really great win-win, both for me, for the business, but also for the employees that are engaging with those customers.
Yes, and I think just to come in here, this is where the implementation expertise also helps transform that technology into a human connection. So the aim is to transform how enterprises communicate with their customers through this AI-driven decisioning paradigm. So typically, we would work very closely with our customers to design and visualize these intelligent recommendations. So, in the action library, a collection of actions that you can take. How are you going to arbitrate, decide what's best for the customer, and reshape that customer interaction in real time? So instead of a generic sales-driven message like switch back to us and save, we can help create experiences that are demonstrating true customer understanding and relevance. So we'll say, we value you, we value your loyalty, and based on what all we know about you, as you said in that example you gave, Annette, we want to ensure you're getting our best plan and the best deal and whatever is available to you. So the subtle shift here that changes everything is you've gone from a sales pitch to a personalized customer partnership. The transaction focus has moved to a one-to-one relationship focus, and obviously you're not pushing a product anymore. You're talking about customers' need and empowerment. So let's talk a bit more about integration. Simon, you talked about data signals in today's age where customers are savvy, they're aware of the data. You mentioned privacy first and the opportunity here. So can you talk us, how do these approaches actually work? Do you have some examples of how how this helps improve customers' trust?
Mm-hmm. So as I said earlier, I mean, we're the kind of the generation of the behavior, so we can see and track consent rates, and the data sharing willingness of people. So the engagement quality is therefore measured with our mobile operator client. Customers who trusted the personalization experience typically were measured to engage 40% more because the offers were relevant and they felt understood and not tracked. So we directly measure the conversion rates versus a control group in that case, and also like a vanilla experience as well, to demonstrate the numbers basically. So when this flows into other channels, in more than one case, it's been from online through to contact center, we've seen reduced call duration, increased take rates of those calls, and typically the calls resolved on the first call resolution numbers go up because the agent knows the context, doesn't have to go through kind of a detailed IVR system. The customer's experience is much better. So as Annette said earlier, it's a win-win all round, because when the consumer feels the brand really understands them, their intent, their needs, and the business can in tandem increase operational efficiencies, like I've mentioned in those call center examples, and that ultimately drives more profitable sales, and maintains loyal customers.
Yes, and we'll show you some more numbers in a moment. But Annette, you mentioned Pega's intelligent AI system earlier. So how's that responding to customer behavior? How's it learning, adapting? Can you talk us a bit more about that?
Yeah, no, absolutely. So continuous learning is built into Pega's Customer Decision Hub. It's a core feature. We don't ignore a single element of our conversations with customers. So every single customer response, whether they're engaging, ignoring, or opting out, all of this feeds back into the models. So it's a constantly reinforced learning. So the system's basically getting smarter with every single interaction. It's adapting to changing behavior patterns in real time, and it's creating targeted strategies for customers that look like each other, but maybe they don't want the same things as each other. So you need to be able to adapt to the shifting preferences and trends. And then importantly, it deduces the state and intent of the customer on an ongoing basis. So this is about creating empathetic and consistent and impactful conversations.
Correct. And I think in that, what we're saying is this is why that behavioral based personalization is what matters. And that's what we see matters when we talk about customers and loyalty. So we are A/B testing customer responses to one-to-one actions and comms, and not just talking about conversion rates, helping drive up NPS. So I've alluded to results. Let's talk a bit more about results. We shortlisted two case studies, so to demonstrate the transformative power. Annette, do you want to take us through the first example? I think this one, we'll talk a bit more about some of the numbers.
Yeah, sure. So the first use case is to talk about a leading UK energy supplier. And the situation that they were in the market is they were facing the perfect storm. So very intense price competition in the market, negative media scrutiny, and record customer departures in their industry. And the traditional loyalty approaches were just failing completely. So they really needed to come up with a solution. So we deployed CDH to process real-time behavior triggers initially for over 2 million customers. And instead of offering generic discounts, we created a personalized behavioral rewards program. So things like loyalty days with free energy based on customer tenure for those customers that would be most suited towards. Sky Cinema subscriptions for entertainment enthusiasts. So lots of personalization in the things that were applicable to them. There was also an investment budget capability that was created called the bank, so that we could balance the individual lifetime value of the customer, their risk, their value, versus the cost of the rewards and their preferences, so that we could get a harmonious match. And then this capability was used to drive key KPIs on engagement, acquisition, and retention. So the business transformation and the results with this were quite remarkable, actually. So up to 50% churn reduction in an industry that was seeing record customer departures. That's quite a phenomenal number. We doubled NPS scores among program members. So NPS is so critical and very difficult to influence, because often, where the NPS scores can be negative, can be things that, are driven by gaps across the organization in the way that you engage with your customers. So driving that genuine advocacy was a big achievement. And then there were numerous other value drivers, including sort of the behavioral gamification of engagement with customers. And finally, I'll just mention actually the big uplift in consent opt-ins. So we're in a world where everybody opts out of everything, and we saw a significant uplift in these numbers. So customers wanted to share their data because they saw the mutual value exchange.
And 7-month end-to-end implementation as well. So they went from that crisis on the left to being quite competitive and actually a leader in the field on the right in that time period. For the second case study, we have that UK-based telco we talked about earlier. So maybe talk a bit more in detail about what's happening, what's inside the decision-making process. And the Telium data stream has already captured the website behavior in real time. So every page visit, every click as it happens, and we have fed that into Pega CDH. So Annette, what happens from that point onwards?
Yeah, so what CDH does is it accumulates the behavioral signals and interest patterns from the website interactions. And then in real time, it's detecting the churn risk indicators. And when it's deduced the churn risk, it can then start to trigger the contextual retention messages. And the way this works is that advanced algorithms can spot patterns indicating a customer is about to leave. So often it can do this before the customer themselves know that they want to leave. And what this does is it allows their business to proactively reach out and to address the issues that they're seeing in real time and start to build the valuable relationship. Give that feeling that they know and value the customer without it being a kind of overbearing, kind of creepy, engagement. So the power of the omni-channel capability is that you then get to balance the needs of both the customer and the business. So you can look at individual customer margin. So with this particular use case, we had a very well-defined ability to be able to deduce margin across the customer base, but then to start to tailor different treatments according to their potential lifetime value, and then to personalize the bundles of offers that we gave to them then to create a really amazing experience across all of the channels that they engage through. But I think an important point to note with the customer journey orchestration is that it enables businesses to build and scale out engagement with customers across multiple journeys. But these aren't hard-coded journeys that require lots of time and effort to recode. They're algorithmic and dynamic. They're constantly learning and finessing the next stage of the conversation that you're going to have with the customer. So it's a highly integrated approach, and it delivers what many traditional loyalty programs cannot deliver, which is it's a predictive relationship engagement that's powered by AI, but it's thinking at machine speed and creates that empathetic engagement on a very, individual and personalized level.
Yes, and I think these results and solutions, as you can see, are validating that three-pillar methodology. So data foundation, AI intelligence, and behavioral expertise are working seamlessly together to deliver real-time next best action. Now, as you can intuitively guess, it's backed by academic research. Intrinsic motivation leads to 3x higher engagement rates. Gamification has positive effects. Aspirational-based rewards give you 30% higher emotional engagement, etc. So let's wrap this section with some final set of numbers, examples. So in our implementations across different sectors, we've seen similar transformational patterns. So for a healthcare client in Australia, we achieved 50% delivery efficiency uplifts, strong NPS score of 65 for personalized customer pathways. For a financial services client in EMEA, we're talking about 43% increase in customer engagement. It was quite interesting for them. Their focus was financial wellness, so that was one of the targets that they had. In case of another client, again, based in Northern Europe, we leveraged 2000 plus Pega ML models, so delivering 1.5 billion personalized next best actions for 9 million customers in a year across the different touch points they have. Some telecom examples here. A UK-based client achieved 60% increase in cross-sell revenues while tripling offer acceptance rates. And a Middle Eastern client saw 3x conversion rate improvements with a 20% incremental revenue increase in a single year. So let's just summarize what we've discussed today. We talked about loyalty crisis. How loyalty programs have become commoditized and transactional. Loyalty is almost a misnomer. We showed you some proven results. We talked about need to engage with customers in the moment of need and hence real-time events and acting on these in real time. We touched on a combination of privacy-first data foundation, AI native decisioning, and in summary, how AI is helping enterprises interpret customer behaviors to deliver personalized experiences. So this is transforming customer relationships across any and all customer-facing industries. We gave you some examples of that. So finally, Annette, Simon, let's talk about next steps. Maybe some of our listeners are now inspired, intrigued, but not quite sure if they should do something now. So what do you tell executives who you're interacting with who think AI is just a phase? Let's wait another year, see what's happening. Let's decide what to do. Annette?
Well, I think the momentum around AI adoption in marketing has been absolutely remarkable over the last 12 months. I don't think anybody probably thinks now that this is going away. It is a real competitive intelligence imperative, and AI-driven decisioning enables marketeers to really leapfrog other organizations in the market to meet and anticipate the needs of their customers. But I think the organizations that are still very reliant on segment-based deterministic logic, it's very difficult to pivot your interactions when your customers are changing their mind or the channel or they're being bombarded by all of these other messages. So I think that creates a really fundamental competitive disadvantage that compounds over time for those organizations that aren't thinking about doing this now and actually acting on that need.
Okay, Simon?
Further to that, and I mean, definitely AI is happening now. I mean, the mobile operator integration that we talked about clearly demonstrated kind of how the real-time behavioral data transforms the kind of AI accuracy and therefore key executive KPIs that team were monitoring. So basically, organizations that are building the integrated capabilities now, they're getting the outcomes. I mean, another example one of our financial services customers achieved a 58% increase in call to lead conversions by using AI to detect when a consumer was struggling during a quote process online prior to being routed to an agent. We have another travel organization that saw a 400% increase in bookings when they were able to offer personalized offers that were delivered in real time via coupons for those that had the potential to book, while leaving those that had the highest propensity to book to do so alone without giving away an unnecessary discount. So yeah, I guess in summary, companies that are building the integrated capabilities now will find themselves competing with yesterday's data while the competitors respond to customer needs and expectations in the moment, in real time, seamlessly across every channel.
Okay, yep. So in summary, the evidence is clear that technology exists today. Methodology is proven through our three-pillar approach. You can start small and start delivering measurable results in weeks, not months and years. And academic research backs everything we're talking about today. So the time is now. The competitive window won't stay open indefinitely. Okay. So we talked a lot about the approach and the results, but many of you may be thinking, show me, don't just tell me, don't show me just slides. So I'm going to hand you over to my colleague, Andy Lewis. Andy, you've got a demo for us just to show this in action. So over to you.
Yeah, thanks, Samir. I know we've only got a few closing minutes left, so let's work through this quickly. I've got Sarah here, who's a customer of Acura Retail, and there's a rewards program. We're going to walk through the day in the life here, but her life is interacting with Pega and Telium to generate next best actions in her reward program. But we want to make sure that they're real time, that they're AI driven, personal one-to-one to her, and she's getting something out of the reward program. It's not just random offers or late offers or whatever. So Sarah's quite young. She's in her 30s. She's obviously very ambitious. Let's hope Next Best Action can find some offers for her that match what drives her essentially and what she's interested in. So this is early in the morning. Sarah's browsing the rewards page. And she realizes that she's on silver, but with a little bit more spend, she could get up to gold perhaps. And she's looking at the rewards offers at the moment. These have all been selected by Next Best Action. So these top 3 offers here have been the ones that are most likely to be relevant to Sarah, to be contextual, and importantly, timely. Okay, she's about to go out in the morning. Maybe a McDonald's breakfast is the right way to spend some of her rewards points. But she's browsing, she's looking through, that wasn't quite right for her perhaps, but she sees, there's a way I can use my rewards program here to get some money off my daily commute with the metro. That's quite interesting, that's relevant to her. So she's feeling quite good about this. And as she moves through the rewards pages here, she starts looking at, well, what do I need to do now to move up the tier hierarchy and get more rewards like this from Acura Rewards? And she's seeing she's on silver. She's got quite a lot of loyalty points, but she needs a fair few more to get up to gold. And she's busy now. She needs to get off to work. So she's going to leave that there for the moment. Under the covers, Telium has been working very hard here, okay, analyzing that behavior, curating the signals we get from her to see what's important and what's not, creating a behavioral profile to understanding which of those next best actions she interacted with and which ones she ignored. And every now and again, Telium might push Sarah into an audience, which indicates that she might be behaving in a certain way, and then Pega can use that data to understand if that might influence the next best actions she get. Oh, look, she's being flagged as that she might upgrade to a gold tier soon if we can motivate her. So Pega ingests that, ingested all that behavioral profile, and is thinking, does a next best action as Annette described, and then offers Sarah a fast track to gold motivational program offer. Let's have a look at how that worked under the covers. And to do that, I'm going to switch to some real software, which is Pega's Blueprint. This is an ideation and design tool that helps you design next best action strategies, and it uses generative AI to create the sort of experiences that you might want to include in such a loyalty program. It's analysed the Acura website and understands what the business is all about and what offers they do, so it can build on existing assets. And now it's created a set of sample customers here. We can see Sarah's at the bottom here, but these sample customers are going to help us understand whether our design and ideation is working. It's analysed what our tone of voice is and created a demonstration email here to see if we're getting that right. Let's see if we can create one for Sarah. And in the background, the Gen AI has created a climb to gold and unlock rewards. So it's understood the sort of things that's going to motivate a character like Sarah. So under the covers now, we're going to generate hundreds of offers that we could use on all our customers, and then Pega will choose what the best one is. So we can see here we've got, I don't know, let's have a look. We've got an Xbox Game Pass that might interest some people, and there's an email, but it's also generated a push notification as well, the same sort of message, but just using a different channel. So how do we select the best message for Sarah here? Annette talked us through that, but let's see this in real life in the software. What it does is it looks at all these potential offers and then runs an algorithm on them. It gets rid of ones that she's not eligible for because she's not yet at gold, for example. It gets ones that she might be, get rid of ones that are not applicable to her, and Telium data could help us understand that. Gets rid of ones where we've over-marketed to her on this already, so constraints based around that. And then finally gets into arbitration, where we use predictive AI to rank the remaining offers from the best offer to the worst offer to come up with the next best offer for, well, let's go with Gadget Guru at the moment and come up with an offer. And he's being invited to join the reward scheme, whereas Sarah, our customer, is being reminded of what sort of offers in an email might be suitable for her. So going back to our scenario, Sarah's next best action is a motivational program to move up to gold. So she browses that and is quite excited about that. She's young and ambitious and would like the status of being a gold member of the rewards program. So what happens now? An email in real time is sent to her just after she's been browsing the website. We've picked up those signals in real time, so it's relevant to her. She's been thinking about Acura rewards at the moment, so it's not a week later when she's forgotten all about that. So she accepts the challenge, and then we can send her more and more offers to motivate her to spend more money and climb up the tiers to gold, where she'll feel appreciated and understood and loyal, hopefully, to this retail organization. Now, I'm going to stop right there. This video will be available online, so you can see the rest of Sarah's story and how we're continuously running next best actions to continuously push her through the extra expenditure she needs to make to get to the gold program. But Samir, I think right now what we probably ought to do in the last 5 minutes is take some questions, shall we? So this is over to you now. Let's see if we can get some questions come in, and then I will ask the team here to respond to them. So let's have a look. Let's see if we've got anything coming in. Right, okay, here's something interesting. Can you elaborate a bit more on cross-channel experience when developing personalized loyalty programs? Is this a case of more consistent branding messages? What's going on then when we're in cross-channel? Annette, do you think you could explain the importance of cross-channel experiences a little bit there, please?
I will certainly give it a go, Andy. Thank you very much. So, I mean, yes, I think it is a case of consistent branding. Consistency is really important. But what's even more important is thinking about that concept of having the conversation with the customer. So if you really understand where the critical points of interaction are with the customer, when you absolutely need to get the message right, something that's a high value engagement with them, maybe it's something in the welcome process when they're just onboarding with you, So actually looking at where they are in the channels, thinking very deliberately about how you engage and connect up that experience. So you can, maybe they'll leave you when they're in the app, but then you might want to push them back in via email. So connecting up that experience and being very deliberate about how you drive it across channels will not just create a great experience for the customer, but it'll also drive it. It's a significant business value driver.
Okay, thank you, Annette. I'm going to move on quickly here. We've got another interesting question here coming. This sounds like a pretty big shift from how most of us are doing loyalty today. That's absolutely right. We're moving away from batch into real time. So we're used to planning campaigns weeks in advance, and now you're talking about AI making decisions in real time. So it's a bit of suspicion here. How do you get your team and frankly your executives comfortable and to buy into this sort of change? Who'd like to pick that up to begin with? Should we say
I'll pick up that one,
Simon?
Andy.
Simon?
Yeah, I think I mean it's twofold. I guess we talked about the kind of the data foundation. So having good data is brilliant, and obviously it powers everything, but also data provides the ability to report and show value, ROI, etc. So particularly with kind of stakeholder management, as with anything, there's some ways a bit of a fear about AI. It's going to kind of take away all our jobs, etc. But when it's done properly and measured properly, it's important to have executive buy-in to kind of put the teams in place to do this, but also things are going to need tweaking. It's going to be a constant process of A/B/C testing, which is kind of what you've been talking about, I guess, in some of the reporting that you guys have, that it's important to take stakeholders along on the journey. I think that's definitely what we've seen, the success we've had with the 2 or 3 cases that I've mentioned, the C-level, and they have visibility literally of some of the stuff that you showed in that demo. Some of the tracing capability brings it all to life, for example.
Excellent. I know we've only got a minute or two left, so I'm going to hand it over to Samir very quickly. Based on your experience, how do you actually go about building the right team for this? It's a related question, Samir. Have you got any quick thoughts on that?
Yeah, so just a comment on the previous one is the tooling in both Pega and Telium help you with the transformation and the move, because there's a lot of tooling which shows you how your actions are performing and where the value is. And we have something called Value Finder. We can do simulations and what if scenarios, etc. So that's helpful. With regards to the last question you asked, I think there is
the team.
Yeah, yes, the team. So when you think about the team, now the first thing we say to customers is you don't need to have the whole perfect team in place. We would expect that you would already have some marketing function or people who do certain activities today. So typically we'll move them to a world where you have people who are doing some initial analysis, who are setting up the actions and treatments, they're doing some experimenting, and then they're looking at how can they ingest from the data scientists, what models, etc. are available. So there is a template. Happy to take you through what the best practice is. It's not quite one size fits all, but from a framework perspective, there is a framework which complements what tooling the tools provide to be able to deliver that. I don't know if that answered the question.
Well, that's wonderful, Samir, but we're getting very close to the end of our allotted time. So I think I'll hand back to you now to wrap up and see what the next steps are.
Okay, thank you, Andy. So that's all the time we have today, folks. Thank you, Annette and Simon, for great content and insights. And thank you, Andy, obviously, for taking us through the demo. As you mentioned, the demo video will be available. It's a bit longer, takes us through what happens when she becomes gold and moves to platinum as well, Sarah Chen. Thank you all for joining, for taking the time. We would love your feedback and on the topics we discussed, as well as any questions you have regarding to how you are set up or what you're trying to achieve within your company. So there's a link to the survey, which should come through in the chat, so you can give us feedback. Or additionally, you can expect a link to that survey in your mailbox by tomorrow. So that'll also include the details of how you can access the replay of the webinar, the slides we used today, and finally, the invitation to try out the blueprint, which Andy was showing you. So there'll be a QR code. You can go in and you can start building your own blueprint. It's on the screen. So thank you all and wish you a good afternoon. And hopefully you found that engaging and exciting. Okay, thank you and a good afternoon from all of us.
Okay.